they want to be part of their communities, they want to carry on living their lives as normally as they can, for as long as they can. But that means that we all need to understand if there's older people in our communities that get dementia, that we can support them and they can carry on being part of our communities as well. So the Dementia Friends programme is a national programme. It's happening all over the country, and the idea is we want to get 1 million people understanding more about dementia. And actually, if anybody's interested, you can do a training course, a free training course to learn to do sessions like I'm doing today, so you can spread the word to schools, to youth clubs, to any groups of older or younger people, any groups that you're involved in. Because we want as many people as we can to know about dementia. Now the first thing is going to be a bit like being back at school, is I want everybody to think about a word they think of when they think of dementia. What word comes to their mind, and I wonder if a few people would like to call out a word that comes to their mind when they think about dementia.
Forgetfulness?
Yeah, that's a very important one. Now I'm not very good at spelling, so in fact, if somebody's good at spelling, they could do it for me. I like a spell checker like a computer. What else?
Old age.
Old age, yeah. Somebody else?
Forgetfulness.
Got that already.
Oh, sorry. Slow.
Loss of dexterity.
Loss of
Dexterity.
dexterity, yeah. So that's a difficult one to spell.
B.
Loss of dex. Excuse me if it's wrong.
E-R-I-T-Y.
That's wrong. Another one?
Loss of independence.
Loss of independence, yeah.
Depressed.
Depressed, yeah. Right, two more. Well, one from the ladies. Come on, we haven't heard of three ladies.
Isolation.
Isolation, yeah.
Anger.
Anger. When you look at this list, what does it make you feel? It's a bit, yeah, it's a bit of a blur list, isn't it? It's a bit of a down list. And this is what Dementia Friends is trying to counteract. Now, we know dementia is a big problem. We're not trying to say it's all happy, clappy, wonderful, but I think with people understanding more about it, we can turn some of these things around. People can be less isolated. People can maintain their independence for as long as possible with a little help from their friends, and this is what it's about, really, everybody understanding a bit more. And I think one of the first things to sort of ask really is who has experience of dementia, because we know that probably in this room some people know about dementia from their families, and I'm not asking you to put your hands up and say, but to be aware that there are lots of people who've got experience of dementia, somebody in their family, somebody down their road, a neighbour, somebody in their community. I'll go into the details a lot more in a bit, because as a population we're getting older, and that's really good because people are living longer. Although it's not only old people who get dementia, it's more older people, and so therefore the situation is getting, there's more people with dementia as well. And in Bradford district we think there's probably about 6,000 people with dementia. So this is a bit like going back to school, so we've got an exercise. I want you to work in pairs, and we've got sentences here, and they're mixed up. The school children back, they'll know about doing this. You have to mix, you have to join up. The first one, it says dementia is not, and then it's one of these, so I want you to join up what it is to find out how much you already know about dementia. So in pairs, is that all right? I'll pass these out. Can somebody help me pass these out a bit? So, I've got some pens as well. Pass these around. Nobody needs a pen to... What people got there?
People's perception.
No, it's a natural part of aging.
It's not a natural part of ageing. I think you're right, it's not just people's perception as well. That's also right. Dementia is caused by disease of the brain, that's right. So it's not a natural part of ageing, it is a disease, it's a disease of the brain. 1 in 3 people over 65, it's a difficult one, will go on to develop the dementia. That means before they die they will develop dementia, so maybe not at 65, it may be till they're 90, but will go on to have dementia before they die. So one of the common causes of dementia is I'm jumping around the order's not the same on my list. So Alzheimer's, let's start on the, sorry, I'll go back to the list. Alzheimer's disease usually starts by affecting people's short-term memory, that's correct. Dementia is not just about losing your memory, it's wider than that. We'll come to more of those things. It's possible to live well with dementia, great, yes, and that's what Dementia Friends is about, and the dementia-friendly work that Virginia and other people have been involved in is about helping people live well and carry on being part of their community. Dementia is progressive, which means
symptoms will gradually get worse.
Absolutely, yeah. Well done. So you do know, you know most of the answers between you. Dementia Friends is about turning understanding into action. So we can all understand a bit more about dementia and support people. You look like you've got the answer sheet. Dementia Friends, dementia affects each person in a different way, that's right. It's not the same. We'll go on to think about the brain a little while, and depending where in the brain is damaged, it's going to affect how dementia is for that person. Dementia can also affect
people's perception.
People's perception, yes, we'll go on to talk about it's not just about memory, it can affect all sorts of different things. There's more to the person than... No, there's more to the person than...
The dementia.
The dementia.
The dementia. We always like to say, actually, if that person is Sarah or Jane or Rajinder, that person is still Sarah, Jane or Rajinder. They're not... The dementia isn't the most important thing about them. It's who they are, it's their life, what they've been in the past. Are they a father? Are they a teacher? Are they a good cook? Those things are still important. One common cause of dementia is Alzheimer's disease, and that's one of the diseases which causes dementia. There's many diseases which cause dementia, but Alzheimer's is the most common. So I'm going to go into those things in a little bit more detail now with the slides on the computer. It works. So with people with dementia, only about 50% of people with dementia have been diagnosed. There's a lot of people who maybe have dementia and their families aren't sure what's happening. They may not have a formal diagnosis, so that's an effect. Most people with dementia are older people, but some people do get dementia in their 40s and 50s, and sadly even the youngest person, I think, in the UK was in their 20s or even younger than that. So very rarely it does affect younger people. But most people are older people, but we certainly know quite a lot of people in Bradford in their 40s and 50s with dementia as well, in the work of the Alzheimer Society, but mostly it's older people. If younger people are getting memory problems, or you worried yourself that you're getting memory problems, it's more likely to be stress at work, it's more likely to be an infection. So don't think just because somebody's having problems with their memory, it's definitely dementia. It could well be something else as well. So get it checked out by the doctor. People with dementia lose some skills, but they often retain others. So, for example, if somebody was very good at playing the piano or very good at singing, they still may be very good at that, but they may forget something very simple like how to make a cup of tea. So people may have some skills, but may lose others. And that varies again from person to person.
Can they learn more skills?
People can. It's much harder for them to learn new skills, but they can learn new skills. People do. So we like to say there's 5 things we want people to know about dementia. It's not an inevitable part of old age. It is a disease, and there's lots of research being done to find out why people get the disease, what we can do to prevent the disease. So we shouldn't think, oh, it's just old age, there's nothing we can do about it. With treatments they can help, but also we should all be fighting to make sure the research is done to help people to treat the disease, because it is a disease. Dementia is an umbrella term. It covers all the different sorts of changes that happen to the brain that cause dementia. So Alzheimer's disease is one of the diseases, vascular dementia, there's others, Lewy body, there's lots of different ones, but dementia is the umbrella term. Like we say children, that's boys and girls. Dementia, that's Alzheimer's, that's vascular dementia, that's Lewy body. People sometimes get confused. They say, oh, my auntie, she hasn't got dementia, she's got Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a sort of dementia. Yeah? But they're all caused by physical changes in the brain. Now we know when somebody has a broken leg, we don't expect them to be able to run. But when somebody has a broken brain, they can't. It's a physical disease, but we can't see it. So obviously it can be a hidden disease as well. It's not just about memory, and we'll talk a bit more in a minute about the different things it can cause. But it is possible to live well with dementia, and I know lots of people, these words are very down, sad words, but actually people can have a very good life with dementia if they get good support, good care, and if they're encouraged to be actively involved in things, carry on living their lives. So if they always came to the Gurudwara, we should support them to carry on coming to the Gurudwara. If they always like to go out with their friends, we should try and support them to carry on doing the things that give their life meaning and joy. And that's really important. And as I said before, it's not just about the dementia, it's about the person, and whoever they are, Mrs. Smith, Jack, Jane, Mr. Hussain, people like you and me, we want to carry on living our lives. If I got dementia, I want to carry on. I like my gardening, I like walking my dog. I want to carry on doing those things, and I'm sure you would as well, carry on living your life the best you can, and that's what it's about really. The dementia is important, but it's about supporting people to carry on living their lives. And as I say, it's not an inevitable part of getting old, but getting old is the thing that increases your likelihood of getting it. So the older you get, the more likely you are to develop dementia, but not lots of people will become very old and not get dementia, so it is a disease. As I said before, younger people can get it too. I've expanded these things already, I think. And if we think about the brain does all sorts of different things. Part of our brain at the beginning, the front there is about thoughts and memories. Part of it's about hearing, learning and emotions. Part of it's about language and touch. Part of it's about how we see things. Our eyes obviously do the seeing, but our brains also interpret what we see. So it's all those different things. And also, eventually, it's also breathing, heart rate, our temperature, all those things as well. And the damages caused by dementia, there's actual physical damages happening in the brain that causes part of the brain to gradually work less well and then shut down and die. With Alzheimer's disease, they have something called plaques and tangles, and builds up a protein that kills off part of the brain. With vascular dementia, It's a bit like the strokes in the brain. People know about the physical symptoms. It's the same process that causes the vascular dementia. Half the brain is affected and dying because of the blood vessels getting blocked and restricting flow, and eventually part of that brain dies. And the other forms of dementia are very similar. Brain with their memory, that's gone. It's no wonder they can't remember what they did yesterday. It's disappeared. The same with the bits about language. They may find it really hard to remember words. They may know what they want to say, but they've lost the word for cup, they've lost the word for chair, they've lost the word for plate, or whatever. Sometimes they might say, it's funny, sometimes people can describe something, they say that round thing you put food on, but they've forgotten the word plate. Sometimes people can go around the houses to get to what they say, but they may have forgotten some of the nouns or some of the ways of expressing themselves. So it is a physical disease. I mean, sometimes we talk about, it's quite useful to think about memory as a bookcase, and as we grow, we put things on the bookcase, and in childhood we put our children's books on, we put our childhood memories on the bookcase. As we get older and teenage, we're putting more books on, and the things we do as teenagers, the exams we take, the social, our friends, our networks, all the things we do, adulthood, having children, maybe being students, all those things, middle age, older age. We gradually, as we go on, we put things on the bookcases, and we put facts and memories on the bookcase, but we also put our feelings and our emotions, the fact that we have deep affection for people, the fact that we maybe were quite scared by situations in the past. Those things we put on the bookcases as well. And what dementia often does is start to wobble that bookcase. It's like a IKEA bookcase, not a really solid oak bookcase. I know there's nobody from IKEA here, but you know what I mean? It's like a bookcase, we'll say Woolworths, because they're not here to sue me. It's a bit wobbly, it's not a very, very good bookcase, and gradually, with dementia, it gets a bit shaken. And the one which gets shaken most is the facts and the what we did yesterday, the memories, those get shaken. And when you shake a bookcase, actually the books at the top will start to fall off quickest. And people forget their short-term memories, they often lose those. They don't remember what they did yesterday, but they do remember very well, actually, that their children, they remember very well when they were a child. They remember getting married, but their later memories start to get more difficult. But actually their feelings are often very intact. That bookcase is a stronger bookcase. And actually, as dementia progresses, the bookcase wobbles more, and people lose more and more of their memories in the current time, but they still maintain a lot of their memories in their early adulthood, their youth, their childhood. And also their feelings and emotions start to get a bit muddled too, but actually, as you see, that stays more solid, so actually their feelings about people are often still there. Their feelings that somebody is a safe person to be around, or that actually somebody who looked like that actually was really not very nice to me in the past. Those feelings are still quite strong, but the logic sometimes that joins them together isn't really there. And what happens as dementia progresses is that really our logic and our memories get very muddled and things collapse, and people often, maybe an elderly person will be saying, I need to pick my children up from school. I really must go now, I've got to pick my children up from school, because in her mind she's still a mother and she's still, or our dad, and yet she's forgotten, she can't remember that she's an elderly woman herself. Of course her mum or her dad aren't there to support her. But actually the feelings of wanting support is still there, and actually we often say, we shouldn't lie to people with dementia, but if they say, I want my mum, we should say, oh, are you missing her? Are you, can I give you a hug, or can I help you? Are you feeling sad? And acknowledge the feelings. Don't go along with the story, but acknowledge the feelings, offer support, because that's what they're often asking for. If they're frightened of something, they may be frightened of something that happened in the past. It may not be about now, but acknowledge the fear. Because if we said, oh, don't be silly, your mum died years ago, she's going to feel really sad about that, and she doesn't need to grieve over and over again every day, like the first time she heard that her mother had died. So acknowledge the feelings, support the person, and this is somebody, quite a long way down the road with dementia though. It's not early stages, it's later on. And this is what happens to people's memories and why they sometimes behave a little bit strangely in a way that we maybe find hard to understand. Currently, we can't cure dementia, and that's very sad, and I work with a lot of people with dementia, and we'd love to be able to give them a cure. But medication and changing people's lifestyles can help to slow down the course of the disease. People with the right support and understanding of their families, their communities, people in the local shops, banks, everything, that can help people live well with their dementia. But also, we need to remember that people who are caring for people with dementia also need our support. And I know it's a hard journey caring for somebody where your loved one is gradually becoming less like they were and less attached to the normal reality and going back in a world of their own. And that's hard. Some people with dementia can live for many years with their dementia. They may still be around 10 years after they've had a diagnosis. So for some people, they maybe deteriorate fairly fast, but some people deteriorate very slowly as well. And often, when somebody has a diagnosis, when you look back, you think actually maybe they have had dementia for quite a long time. We just hadn't realised that was what the problem was. So people are likely to have shorts to take advantage of them. People can overcharge them, but if shopkeepers obviously are honest and understand and help people with their money, then that's all right. But people will find those things difficult, even if sometimes that difficulty may be more. The first thing that happens, even if their memory is quite good, and then it might problems with numbers. People may have problems with their visual recognition. So, for example, your eyesight might be all right, but you might find that if there's a dark shade, you might think it's a hole. If there's a carpet with a big pattern on it, you might actually get confused by the pattern, and you might think that there's things on the floor. Those sort of things can affect people, even though their eyes might be working perfectly well. People might get disorientated or lost, even in an area that they do know very well as well. And as I say, many people, in their minds, they revert to a time in the past. They find it hard to stay in touch with the current reality. People might be able to find words that they want as well. As I said before, they notice a plate, they know that food goes on it, but if they're saying, pass me the plate, they might not find the word, or they might not find the word for the food, or they might not find the word for something else. But they may know perfectly well what it is they want. Often people might find it hard to find the words, but they still do know what they want, and it can be very frustrating and make them feel quite upset and angry if they can't explain what it is that they want. Some people will, if we have a part of our brain at the front that stops us, if somebody comes on the bus who is really smelly, we don't go, oh, they're smelly, we know that's not polite, but somebody may lose that part of their brain that stops them, so they might seem very rude, and again, it's the part of their brain that is stopping them being polite that they're losing, or a man might become very flirtatious in a way that they never would have done before, but it's their brain that is, that part of the brain that has stopped them. They just behave like more, what's the word, without those inhibitions, you know what I mean? So that can be very difficult as well, but again, it's part of their brain that is damaged that stops them doing that. It's not deliberate, that they're not become a nasty person. It's that brain damage. And people don't always remember that they've got dementia. They may have been told, they may go to the clinic and say you've got a diagnosis, but they may forget that, and they may be very angry if you suggest to them, oh, uncle, it's your memory, you've forgotten that. They may say, no, I never forget anything, or if they've lost their purse, they might think somebody else has because they never used to lose anything. So those things can make life quite difficult and can cause sometimes people to feel quite angry because they don't believe that they've got the problem, because they've forgotten that they've got the problem. However, people can often have lots of skills as well, and people can often drive quite safely. For example, this surprises some people, that people can drive and they might have a diagnosis of dementia for several years. Now, some people have to give up driving straight away, but other people can safely drive for several years after they have a diagnosis. Sometimes I know people are very good at, say, doing a crossword, and even doing like the Times crossword. I wouldn't even try, and I've never been any good at that. But they're very good at doing crossword, even though she doesn't remember what happened half an hour ago. But she's got that memory, she's got that good at words, you know, so it's very different for different people. The person I think of, she used to teach horticulture, all about plants. She knows all the Latin names of all the plants and all that stuff. Really, really good, but she doesn't remember, you know, what happened 5 minutes ago. So it's very patchy what people can do. If somebody was good at mechanics, they might still know how, certainly old cars, maybe not the modern cars, but how the old cars work. They could fix somebody's old car, but they may not remember what happened yesterday. And people certainly often, you know, if you're in the right environment, they can have a good laugh, they can have a good joke, they can join in their community, they can join in having fun and celebrations, and they really want to do that. And when we have groups of people, we always have a lot of laughter in our groups, because people have, you know, have a sense of humour and laugh with each other about the situation, because that's the best way through often. And you know, people that we talk to about dementia, you know, we want to emphasise they are people with dementia, and they want to continue to live their lives the way they want to, how they want to. And many of them have had full and active lives, and they want to continue. And if you think about yourselves, I've said this before, but what would you want if it was you? And I think, hopefully, I think you'd all say the same. I want to continue to be part of my community. I want to continue to if I'm still at work, do my work as long as I can. Maybe there'll be a time when I can't. I certainly want to be respected by my friends and my neighbours, and carry on doing the things that are important to me. So, you know, some of the things I like to say before, walking my dog and being independent as possible. Now I'm going to do another exercise with you now, called making a cup of tea. And what I want you to do, and I don't mind if you talk about, this forms a little group, you can talk about making Asian tea, you can talk about making English tea, I really don't mind. I'm adaptable. I want you to think about every single step there is to making a cup of tea. It's an everyday activity, we do it all the time, but you know, you have to think about everything from finding the tea bags, or finding the loose tea, finding the things, how you're going to make it. So I want you to break it up. If you can get into groups of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 small groups, I'm going to give you all a pen. Write down every single step there is to making a cup of tea. And then we'll talk about how that might be quite complicated for you. Well, that's important, isn't it? It's not so easy with somebody with dementia. You can drink it, Rob. As long as you've got somebody to make it for you. So you're nearly finished with that? So if you look at your lists, how many points have you got on your list? Who's got more than 5 points? 11, yeah. Find the cup. So actually, you know, the first step could be find the cup. A step before that,
Find the kitchen.
find the kitchen. A step before that, make sure you've got milk, tea, sugar, all those things in the house that you've remembered to go shopping. A step could be, people can find it hard to remember that they're thirsty, and that can make people dehydrated, and that. So what about the last step? What's the last step you've got? Enjoy the cup of tea. Now people can actually make the cup of tea and then forget that they made it, and go off and leave it, and there's a cold. I do that sometimes actually. I make a cup of tea and then I'm busy and I forget to drink it. I never forget. So did you find that quite an easy thing to do? It's funny when you break it down, there's lots and lots of little steps, aren't there? And actually if we think about somebody with dementia, you only have to have one of those little steps that gets a bit wobbly, and you can't make the cup of tea, if you can't pick up the kettle and safely pour the hot water into the cup, then you can't make a cup of tea. If your hands are shaky, it's very hard to make the cup of tea. If you can't find the cup, it's very hard to make the cup of tea. So something very simple can be very difficult and very frustrating. But of course, if I come in and make the cup of tea for you, then you probably, it's nice, but it means you're less independent. So if we're supporting somebody with dementia, it's very important to try and support just the bits they're struggling with, but still let them do as much as they can themselves. But and if you missed out one step, how would your cup of tea taste? If you forgot something? It's not tea, is it? If you forgot to boil the kettle, or you forgot to heat the Asian tea, sometimes you make it in a pan, don't you? If you forget to turn the gas on, no tea.
This is where the auntie and the corner.
It's still boiling. Still boiling.
So she clearly remembered to boil the kettle or put the pan on. Well, you can see it's quite humorous, but you can see that actually one thing that goes wrong, then you can't have a nice cup of tea, and you know, so that's very difficult, and it illustrates really that, you know, if you can't see, your brain's not communicating with your eyes properly, you can't pour the kettle, if you can't remember where the cups are, if you've forgotten to go shopping, you know, it's all very difficult. So there's lots of challenges. As I say, it's very tempting to take over, but what do you think you learned from doing that little exercise? What do you think? Has it made you think?
3 times the same thing.
Yeah, so a repetition can help, yeah? What else do you think you've got from doing that?
Oh, each step is vital for the condition.
That's right, yeah. So every single step is vital, and losing one bit would make all the difference. So, yeah, thank you. That's a bit of fun, but... Go back to this. So really, Dementia Friends is about putting this little bit of knowledge that you've got into action. And what I'm asking you actually is are you all sort of ready to be a dementia friend? And that means that if you have anybody in your community or in your working life that you come across with dementia, are you ready to just take that little step extra to support them? Now we ask people to make a commitment to do one small thing. It's not a commitment you have to share with everybody else if you don't want to, but that commitment to just be willing to go the extra mile, like we say, with somebody, to give somebody that little bit of extra time can make a big difference. And I want to show you a little film that the Alzheimer Society produced, just showing how small changes can make a big difference. If I can get it to work. Just a minute. I'm not sure what the volume's like, so you might have to listen carefully.
Should I?
Just sit down. Just sit down.
Yeah. Right. That way. I think not. I don't know.
Give them, remind them to put their bins out. If you've got a job and you're working, you know, take that little bit of effort with somebody. Those small changes make a big difference to people's lives. Has anybody got any questions? Particular questions?
How would you recognize that he's got dementia?
How do you recognise? I think it is often with the common forms of dementia is forgetfulness that is the first thing people notice. But any difference in how somebody's behaving that comes on. It's really, you think, oh, that's not like they used to be. If they always forgot their driving, their car keys, then, you know, that fact they've lost their car keys is normal. But if they never used to forget things, then things like that, if they start getting very frustrated or angry when they're never used to, all those things means that really should encourage them to go to the GP and find out.
What would you say to the doctor when you go, if you think?
If you go, you know, if it's for yourself or for a family member, it's good to write down what's been happening, so you've got a list of things. If your you know, husband or family member is reluctant, then you know, you can have, although the doctors can't treat somebody on the hearsay of a family member, you know, sometimes having a chat with them first can help as well, because they know that a lot of people are reluctant to admit themselves. Quite often, even in the memory clinic, somebody will be saying, oh yes, I cook, I look after myself, and their family member is behind them going, no they don't. They may think they do, but so I think the doctors are aware of that and understand that sometimes the person with the dementia doesn't understand it. Not a diagnosis, but realise there is a problem, and then they can refer them to get a proper diagnosis.
Sometimes, is it possible that even the members of the family may be in the denial mode themselves?
Yes.
You don't expect somebody that you respected all your life,
Yeah.
look up to somebody, and all of a sudden this person is helpless or
Yeah.
so.
And I guess it's not all of a sudden, is it, because somebody's got a diagnosis, it doesn't mean to say that they can't do anything anymore. It doesn't change them, they're still the same person. But yes, families can be in denial, and I think sometimes, I don't know, certainly in some South Asian families where the elders are very much more the head of the family, that can be even harder for the family to find a way around to enable the person to maintain their respect, but obviously to take away the decisions that need to be kept track of, like money and things that you know, may be getting in a muddle, because sometimes they are. I think people become very socially isolated, and maybe because of feelings of shame that the family don't take them out anymore, that can make them get worse a lot faster, because they become isolated, they lose the skills. We often say, you know, use it or lose it, and I think that's true. If you don't, you need to keep stimulating yourself mentally, and you know, by walking, by keeping out and about, keeping physically active, healthy lifestyle, especially for vascular dementia, you know, which is obviously because of blood vessels, it's really important. Healthy heart, healthy body, all those things make a difference too. So keeping mentally active, keeping physically active, those things just help people live well, have a good life, but also does help, you know, using it rather than losing it. I think that's really important. So with Dementia Friends, really, so there's one of these each, and also there's a little booklet here which just gives you a few more tips of how you can support people. So I'd like to present you all with your badges that you can have. On you. And my colleague, I said as before, she will come and do a short talk in Punjabi for anybody who might find it easier to have this information in Punjabi as well. So,
Thank you.
as well. We have a leaflet about the things that we offer in the Bradford area, and we are just starting to run a carers course specifically designed for the South Asian community, and I think some of that is going to be in Punjabi and Urdu sort of mixture as well. So there are things out there the whole community and also for the South Asian community as well. So if you do have family members you're worried about, please encourage them to get an easy journey. Of course it's a difficult journey, but with your community supporting you and the services supporting you, nobody's going to try and take your loved one away and put them in a home. We want people to stay in their communities for as long as they can, but we want them to get the support to help them live as well as they can with a condition like that as well. So do come up and get information if you want. And thank you very much for
the Alzheimer Society to educate us on what dementia is and the different things that we can do as a community, as a Sangha, to become more dementia friendly. Obviously it's a very big issue that's affecting our community, and although this session was delivered in English, the next ones hopefully will be in Punjabi, so we can let more of the Sangha be aware and obviously take positive actions. If anyone wants to have a chat with Cathy, I'm sure she's happy to have that on a one-to-one basis, because sometimes it can be difficult to talk in a group. So I'm sure Cathy will hang around.
Yes, I will do it.
Again, we'd just like to thank her once again, and thank you all for attending and taking part. Bye, Gurji Ka Khalsa.